Sketchbooks have been a staple of my channel basically since I started making videos, and a while ago when I made my art supplies tour video, many of you were very interested in a part 2 where I show how I use those supplies in my sketchbooks. And although I'm going to be focusing on sketchbooks in this video, this is also the same thought process I have for making traditional finished illustrations. Before I get into that though, a few things. One, like I said in my supplies video, I've been collecting all of these supplies for the better part of a decade. You don't need all or any of these supplies to make a nice looking sketchbook spread, so focus on using what you have instead of worrying about not having enough. And speaking about making a nice looking sketchbook spread, you don't even have to do that if that's not what you want to do with your sketchbooks. I'll talk later about why I enjoy decorating my pages the way I do, but if you like using your sketchbooks as a simple idea dump, then that doesn't make it quote unquote worse. The best sketchbook isn't what's on the pages, but pages that are well loved, so if my way of filling out sketchbook spreads doesn't appeal to you, that's totally fine. And lastly, I started streaming on Twitch. I don't remember if I've said it in a video before, but I did. It's a fun fact about me. My last video I mentioned a bit of a heavy life event that I was dealing with, but now that that's more handled in my life, I am planning on getting back into it, so be sure to head over there if you want to join some art streams and also some gaming streams. Life.
Okay. Oh shit.
Oh my god! And you can also subscribe to my VOD channel if you want. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get to it. I'm going to use the word method when talking about these because I don't know what else to call them, but don't let that make you think it's anything crazy. Basically, the two methods I use to fill out sketchbooks are very self-explanatory: planning and no planning. I'll go over the planning method first, since the no planning method is basically all of the same concepts, just applied a little differently. Out of the two, this obviously requires more time, foresight, and oftentimes more patience. Before you even touch your sketchbook, it's important to have an idea on what you'll be drawing. Since I've been really into Deltarune lately, both spreads I'll be making are going to be of Deltarune characters. Don't worry, I won't be spoiling anything. With the first one being some drawings of Chris. If you plan on making a finished illustration in your spread, then I definitely recommend thumbnailing out the pose you'll be drawing beforehand. I'm only going to be making sketches in this video, so I won't be doing any thumbnailing for any of my poses. After picking my subject for the spread, I look through all of my papers, stickers, etc. and pick up my materials. You might be thinking, Oliver, you said yourself you have a ton of stuff. Isn't it a lot to look through all of that each time you plan a sketchbook spread? And you're right. Unfortunately, I don't really have a choice. I think the more supplies someone has, it's only natural they won't be able to remember it all off the top of their head, but I also really struggle with object permanence, meaning if I'm not physically looking at something, it's very difficult for me to remember it. This is why I have all of my washi tapes mounted on my wall with curtain rods, and why I have a desk and other organizers with shelves rather than drawers. When things are in drawers, I'll probably never use it because my brain just isn't wired in a way to think, hey, why don't you just open the drawer. So if you also struggle with this, I can highly recommend investing in shelves instead of drawers. When picking out my materials, I try to pick things that relate to the character that I'm drawing and the media they come from if it isn't an original character, as well as anything else I just think looks nice. Odds are you aren't going to use everything you pick. This is less about committing to materials and more about giving yourself an idea on different layouts you could do. I decided the red heart was an absolute must for this spread since that's a key aspect of the game, and while I don't usually add words to my spreads, I thought this text about the heart was fitting, and I could rearrange the words if I wanted to. I also decided to have blue and black be the main colors of the spread, with red and silver as accent colors to help tie in the heart and to represent Chris's armor. The other major materials I chose were some black construction paper, this blue gift bag, and some crafting paper that had sheet music on it. Regardless of how much or how little planning you do for your sketchbook spreads, it's important to be able to adapt on the spot. I originally thought I wanted to have this arch shape in the paper I was using, but I didn't like that as much as I thought I did. In the game, the battle screen has a black background, so I wanted a little bit more black in the spread. This is also the reason I ended up sketching in black pen, even though I typically prefer to sketch in colors. I originally wasn't going to have the entire left page be covered in paper, but it just ended up working out that way. Fun fact about my sketchbooks, whenever I make sketchbook tours, people notice that I always use both sides of the pages, and I'm always asked how I get my markers and other materials to not bleed through. And I'm here to tell you that they absolutely completely do. If it looks like they don't bleed through, it's because I cover the bleed with paper and other stuff. I had a thin blue washi tape that matched the color of the gift bag pretty well, so I decided to use that and some black washi tape to add in some small spaces on the page. I wasn't originally planning to add any color to my sketches, but I felt like there needed to be more blue, and when I decided to add more red to the pages, I realized I didn't have any washi tape that matched the red of the heart very well. I ended up using acrylic markers to add color to my sketches since I didn't have the best color matches in my Tombow markers like I usually use for coloring my sketches. I also used the blue marker to add some more blue on the black paper so I can make the effect of Chris being on top of it. After the sketches are finished, it's mostly just a matter of trying to balance the colors by bringing them throughout the spread and filling up the empty spaces. I usually do this with washi tape, stickers, or water-based markers, but really anything does the trick as long as it looks nice. And with that, our plan page is done. There's more red than I thought there would be, but I thought coloring their cape was the best way I could tie in that red color, even though their cape borders more on pink in the actual game. But with our plan page finished, let's move on to our not planned page. As you can imagine, not planning a page in advance has a much more relaxed feel overall, since I'm not thinking about anything other than what I'm currently drawing in the moment. The most planning I do on these spreads is choosing what color pen I'll draw in. I usually pick one that matches whatever I want to draw, but sometimes it really is just whatever I feel like using. And there's a few reasons why I like sketching in pen over pencil. Pencil smudges over time, so this helps keeps the drawing intact. You also can't erase pen, so you have to be more intentional with the lines that you put down. And lastly, I think sketching in a colored pen just makes your pages more fun to look at, since all of your lines will have a little bit of color to them. If you're someone who doesn't decorate your pages the way I do, I'm sure you might be wondering, why? What's the purpose of it? The easiest to explain reason is simply because I enjoy it. I love colors, and patterns, and textures, and basically everything that I add to my pages. It just makes me happy to look at those things, so of course I'd like to add them into my sketchbook because that's something I'm going to be spending a lot of time in. It also makes every page feel more worthwhile. Not every spread will be a winner, even when you decorate them like I do, but even if there's drawings I don't like on a page, it helps make it feel like drawing them was worth it anyways if I can make the page as a whole something I like looking at. And the last, more complex answer is that I really enjoy treating the entire spread as one big piece. If you don't have a lot of time to make finished illustrations, this is a good way to help keep those same skills sharp while generally taking less time to make. It requires you to think of stuff like composition, contrast, and balancing your colors, clarity, and basically every skill you have when making a finished illustration. Since it requires more thought and creative problem solving than simply sketching on a page, it helps to stretch those muscles you otherwise wouldn't be using. All of these things considered, it helps filling out a sketchbook feel more like an exciting and entertaining activity instead of a tedious task that I have to get done. At least for me personally, I can totally see how this would be more overwhelming for some of you. Once I'm done with my sketches, I start the same process of looking through all of my supplies, but this usually takes a lot less time compared to my planned pages, since some of the supplies will immediately be rolled out due to space limitations. I'm making a page layout revolving the drawings that are already there, rather than starting with a completely blank page. So things like a large crafting paper or my larger stickers usually aren't an option. The other key difference here is that I also pick things in a way that emphasizes the drawings that I like the most. Usually this means I put a solid colored shape behind the ones I like most, since your eyes will naturally be drawn to the solid color, but I'll also be sure to add more visually interesting elements in a way that directs attention to the better drawings. This kind of makes all of your spreads see better by default, because all of the bad drawings you don't like are kind of hidden in plain sight, while also taking up space on the page and helping it seem more full. Now that both of our spreads are finished, let's compare them. Of course, if you spend more time on something, it'll probably come out better. But while as a general statement that's true, I don't want the takeaway of this video to be spend all of your time on every sketchbook spread. Art isn't clear-cut like that, and we've all had times where we spend hours upon hours on a drawing, only to hate the final result. We've also had moments where we scribble something out real quick, and it ends up being one of our favorite drawings we've ever made. Sketchbook spreads are very much the same. There's been times where I meticulously planned out a sketchbook spread, only to phone it in because it wasn't coming out the way I wanted, or I just lost motivation for it. On the flip side, there's also been times where I put no planning into sketchbook spread, and it ended up being one of my favorites in the entire sketchbook. Basically, even though I hope you could take inspiration from this video, don't feel the need to apply all of this to every sketchbook spread, or even use any of this at all if it doesn't sound like something you'd enjoy. Sketchbooks are supposed to be an artist's happy place, so more than anything, focus on finding what makes sketchbooks fun for you. Not so fun fact about this video, I lost the audio somehow after I recorded it and edited it, so I had to record it and edit it again. Please like this video as a sign of your appreciation. It was very annoying, but I am sorry that this video took a lot longer to come out than I was originally planning. It was meant to come out a lot sooner, so thank you for waiting. But I do have some fun sketch vlogs planned where I work with alcohol markers. That's fun. Going back to my roots a little bit, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to see more from me, all of my socials will be linked in the description box below, as well as my Patreon, where some of the tiers include a shout out in my videos like you are seeing on screen now. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.